Thank you for watching this video from KingswaySoft. Today, I will be introducing the AX components for within the SSIS Integration Toolkit for Microsoft Dynamics 365 product. The SSIS Integration Toolkit for Microsoft Dynamics 365 is a cost-effective, easy-to-use, and high-performance data integration solution for Microsoft Dynamics 365 using the Microsoft SQL Server Integration Services SSIS capabilities. Within the SSIS Integration Toolkit for Microsoft Dynamics 365, we have components that are designed to work with Dynamics 365 for customer engagement, also referred to as Dynamics 365 for sales. Also provided are the components to work with Dynamics Nav, also referred to as Dynamics 365 for financials. The AX components are designed to work with Dynamics AX, also referred to as Dynamics 365 for operations. In today's demo, we will show you our software running in a SQL Server 2010 environment. If you are using a different version, the interface will be slightly different. To get started, let's create a simple SSIS project. This tutorial will assume that you already have the SSIS bits installed, otherwise you will not see the SSIS project type here. In the Business Intelligence template, select the Integration Services project and give your project a name. Press OK to create the solution. SSIS is a platform that can be used to implement data migration and application integration using drag-and-drop features. To begin the SSIS implementation using our toolkit, we will configure the Connection Manager to facilitate the connection to the server that runs your Microsoft Dynamics 365 for Operations application. Let's start by right-clicking the Connection Manager area and select the New Connection option. Select Dynamics AX and press Add. If you do not see this option, go back and make sure that our software is properly installed on your machine. The Connection API dropdown allows you to specify which connection API you want to use to build the connection. There are two types of APIs: Business Connector and OData. The Business Connector option is designed to work with Dynamics AX 2012 R3 or earlier, while the OData option is designed to work with Dynamics 365 for Operations, including Dynamics AX 7. We'll demonstrate the Business Connector first, and then show you how the settings vary when selecting OData. Next, specify the AX server where you will enter the username and domain of the Windows user account that you would like to use when connecting to the Dynamics AX server. In the Advanced Settings page, you can enter your proxy account information. Under the Optional Settings area, you can also set some advanced configurations, such as Object Server Name, Configuration Name, Company, Language, and Tenant. We'll test this connection to verify we are connecting to the specified AX server via Business Connector. For clarity, I will rename this Connection Manager to Business Connector. Let's create a secondary Connection Manager to demonstrate OData as our connection API. As mentioned before, the OData option is designed to work with Dynamics 365 for Operations, including Dynamics AX 7. The Service URL option allows you to specify your organization's root service endpoint, which you can use to connect to your Dynamics 365 for Operations. Next, enter your username and password credentials. The Active Directory Resources option allows you to specify the Microsoft Azure Active Directory AAD resource URL to complete the OAuth authorization process. This URL is usually the same as the service URL you have provided above. The Active Directory Tenant option allows you to specify the tenant name where the client app ID is verified to complete the authorization process. It is the domain name that you created in AAD. The Client App ID option allows you to specify the GUID value that identifies a client application in Microsoft Azure Active Directory. It's important to note that you need to register your application with AAD via the Azure portal in order to generate your Client App ID. The Client Secret option allows you to specify the client secret that you have requested from Microsoft Azure Active Directory. Note that this option is required for the web app application type. The Data Scope dropdown provides two options to select. You can choose to access data from all companies or just the default company only. The Service Timeout option allows you to specify a timeout value in seconds for the connection. The default value is 120 seconds. By clicking the Authorize button, an Application Access Authorization window will appear to help you authorize the application to access your Dynamics 365 for Operations data. All you need to do is provide a redirect URL. This supports two types of authorizations, in-app and in-browser. Note that this authorization only needs to be done once, and it can be on any computer. Let's navigate to the Advanced Settings page, where you can configure proxy server settings if a proxy is required. There's also an option for retry and intermittent errors. This option is intended to help recover from possible intermittent outages or disruption of service, so that the integration does not have to be stopped due to temporary networking issues. We have designed this option so that it should only retry when it's deemed to be safe to do so, but there may be exceptions. Similar to before, we'll also test this connection to confirm success in connecting to the Dynamics 365 for Operations server via OData as our connection API. I'll quickly rename this connection manager to OData for clarity. The next step is to use the data flow task to demonstrate the AX source component. If you are using SSIS 2012 or later, you should automatically see these data flow components in the toolbox of the data flow view. If you do not see any components, you can click the SSIS Toolbox button. Note that if you are using SSIS 2008 R2 or earlier, you will need to manually add these components to the SSIS Data Flow Toolbox. In the SSIS Toolbox, you will see the components from our SSIS Toolkit. The AX source components can be used to read data from the Dynamics 365 AX server, while the AX destination components can be used to write data to the AX server. The AX next sequence number component allows you to get the next sequence number from the AX server that you can use as the input for one of the input columns of your AX destination component. The sequencing number capability would first have to be set up properly in AX. Let's start with the AX source. We will show you two different data flow tasks regarding the AX source, as the UI is different depending on the connection API selected in the connection manager. Our first example will show you the business connector model. Then we will show you an example using the OData model. Let's drag the AX source component to the design surface. Double-click the AX source component to bring up its editor form. Here we will first specify the connection manager. The query statement area, which has a general select statement already predefined, can be used to filter records. Select the dropdown to retrieve your AX tables. This may initially take from a few seconds to a couple of minutes, depending on the number of tables in AX that is being retrieved. Notice that we have a refresh component button to refresh the component to the latest AX metadata. This is especially useful for cases where we have created or modified any fields in the AX system for the specified entity, which would otherwise require deleting and recreating the component to reflect the mapping on the columns page. If we navigate to the columns page, the fields displayed are all the fields for that particular AX table. We're going to click the OK button to finish the configuration of this source component. For this demonstration, we're going to add dummy data reader destination component for the purpose of showing you how the data flows from the source to destination component. Now let's execute this task. Now we'll demonstrate a data flow task using an AX source component via the OData model. First, we'll drag the AX source component to the design surface and double-click to open its editor form. Let's specify the connection manager. The source entity option is only available after you've selected OData as your connection API in AX Connection Manager. When the option is selected, the component will retrieve a list of all available AX entities for the selected AX connection. The batch size option allows you to specify how many records you want to retrieve each time. The default value is 1000. The filtering condition grid allows you to specify the filtering conditions so that the source component only returns those records that satisfy such conditions. Navigating to the columns page, you will see all columns available from the query statement or source entity that you have defined in the general page. Let's click OK to finish configuring the source component and add a dummy data reader destination component to illustrate how the data flows from the source to destination component. We will now execute this task. We will now look at the AX next sequence number and AX destination component. As mentioned before, the AX next sequence number component is an SSIS transformation component that allows you to get the next sequence number from the AX server that you can use as the input for one of the input columns of your AX destination component. It's important to note that the sequencing number capability would have to be set up properly in AX first. This component only applies to Dynamics AX 2012 R3 or earlier when Business Connector is the connection API. The AX destination component can be used to write data to the AX server. For my source data, I will use the data spawner component to quickly generate some sample data to work with. The data spawner is part of our SSIS Productivity Pack offering, which is a collection of premium SSIS components to enable greater developer productivity. Now we will connect to the AX next sequence number component and choose our connection manager. Specify the sequence name, which is the name of the number sequence entry specified in AX. Specify the name of the output column that will be created by this component in SSIS. The output column will be created for you once you have finished configuring the component by clicking the OK button below. Lastly, the scope option allows you to specify the scope of the sequence number defined in AX. There are two options available: global and company. Choose the global option if the sequence number is defined in the global space, which means it's available to all companies in the same installation. Choose the company option if the sequence number is defined at the company level. Let's click OK to finish configuring this component. Now let's drag the AX destination component to the design surface and connect to the upstream pipeline components. We'll select an AX connection manager. Next, you can specify how the data should be written to the Microsoft Dynamics AX server. There are 4 write actions available from the dropdown: create, update, delete, and upsert. The upsert action can update any existing records in AX if a matching record can be found. Otherwise, it will create a new record with the information from the upstream pipeline components. The destination entity/table option allows you to specify which AX entity or table to write the data. We have a few optional settings available below. The Ignore Unchanged Fields option allows you to ignore any fields that have not been changed in the target AX system. With this option selected, the AX destination component will check the target AX system and compare each field to see if there are any changes for them. The component will only post the fields that have actual changes. All unchanged fields will be skipped and therefore not posted to AX. The Ignore Null Valued Fields option allows you to ignore any fields that have a null value. By ignoring a field, the null value will not be posted to the target AX system. This can help avoid the situation that you overwrite non-empty values with an empty value if your requirement dictates so. The Include Non-Editable Fields option allows the destination component to list all fields in the specified AX table in the columns mapping page. The Bypass Table Method option allows you to import data into target AX system without firing or triggering any table method, which essentially skips all server-side business logics and data validations. The next section of the configuration is only relevant to an OData connection. The first option applicable to the OData connection is the multi-threaded writing capability. When this is enabled, the destination component will automatically spin up the number of threads as specified and write to Dynamics 365 for operations simultaneously, which can help improve performance dramatically. As we mentioned, this feature is only available for OData connections. To configure the multi-threading feature, you can check the Enable Multi-Threaded Writing option in AX Destination component. The default number is 16. This option supports a maximum number of 100 threads. The Send Datetime Values in UTC Format option will indicate that the incoming datetime values from your source are already in UTC format. When this option is not selected, the input values will be treated as a current user's local time. There is also a refresh component where you can retrieve the latest metadata from the AX server and update each field accordingly. Let's navigate to the columns page where you can map the columns from upstream components to AX fields for the destination entity. We can see that the input column from the upstream components is automatically mapped to the destination AX fields based on a name match. We can unmap any fields that we would not like to write to in AX, which can depend on your business requirements. The last page is the error handling page, where there are 3 error handling mechanisms to choose from. The default option is fail on error, where the entire data flow will fail as soon as an error occurs. There is also the redirect rows to error output, where the error output will contain the failed records with extra columns: error code, error column, error message. These 3 error columns can usually help you identify why the error happened. The ignore error option is generally not recommended, as the component will remain silent for any errors that occur. There is also the enable columns for default output section, which you can use to enable or disable the additional columns in the destination component's default output. The AX Rec ID gives you the newly created AX Records ID, and isNew tells you if the record is a newly created one or if it's an existing record that has been updated. Let's click OK to finish configuring this component. We can now execute this task successfully. This concludes a demonstration of the AX component within our SSIS Integration Toolkit for Microsoft Dynamics 365 product. The SSIS Integration Toolkit for Microsoft Dynamics 365 also supports CRM and nav. Please feel free to take a look at our other videos available for viewing on our website or YouTube channel. Thank you for watching this video. For any further assistance, please feel free to contact us.